What should we say to thank the Sporadically Bored podcast for letting us on?
Thank you for making us superstars.
Yes. It has achieved one of our goals that we set off to do.
From here on out, we will not acknowledge you.
Yes, we want to blow up and then forget who everybody is and
All the little people.
Act like we don't know nobody. Mission accomplished. We were on the Sporadically Bored podcast, which is stationed in Yorkshire, Huntington. I think that's where they broadcast from.
Who?
The Sporadically Bored people.
I don't know.
I don't know. Some village.
How would you know? Where Dan lives?
Yeah, I think it's Yorkshire.
Like the pudding?
Huntington.
How many T's are in it?
They say, well, they pronounce it differently.
You have low T, so you forgot to pronounce one.
No, my T is high.
Where is it?
I may have added a few T's. Huntington, Yorkshire. And we're very appreciative for them having us on their show. We thank you.
They were very nice.
And thus, you have been thanked.
Welcome to the Board Game Snobs Podcast. Critically harsh reviews with a touch of class.
Go again.
Welcome to the Board Game Snobs Podcast. This is a podcast about board games, other things, but mainly board games, but some with banter. And with me in the studio is Gabi.
Hey.
The host.
Hey, everybody. Primary host.
Myself, the star, Jerry. And nobody else.
Self-proclaimed.
Because Enrique is busy.
Thank God.
Thank God. That reminds me, we've had some fan...
I think the Denison police officers caught up with him.
He got warrants. He's underground for now. We had an email I'd like to read, if you don't mind, from somebody.
What if I did mind? What would you do?
I'd read it anyway. But
Okay, well then why did you say I don't mind?
I'm just
Jerry,
I'm
I
trying.
do mind. Thank you.
I'm trying to work on my niceties.
Please just forego any email reading.
You want me to not email?
I'm just joking.
Okay.
It was a hypothetical situation.
You know, I don't do.
You don't get tone. You don't get sarcastic tone.
I don't
for sure.
get tone. I don't do sarcasm.
You would not get Chandler.
This is from Andrew Maloney. It rhymes with baloney. He said, "Hey."
I'm sure he's never heard that before in his life growing up as a child.
He said, "Hey, y'all." Fairly new.
He might be from our neck of the woods.
No. He said, "You guys have given me the hanging with friends." These are air quotes. I'm doing the air quotes. Hanging with friends feeling I used to get with the Secret Cabal, only now I don't have to deal with some of the very annoying problems that have grown with that podcast.
What does that mean?
Shots fired.
What does that mean?
Oh, he goes on to mention you. He says, particularly Gabi, whose mirth is infectious. You have infectious mirth. He misspelled girth. No,
good one.
Mirth. Oh, thank you. I got you there. I had to bring you down a notch. You should not feel good about yourself.
Don't worry, I don't.
Oh, all right.
My self-esteem is at an all-time low.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. If there's any one thing I can accomplish.
You sound like Emperor Palpatine.
Good.
And your fingers look like you.
Let the low self-esteem absorb.
Why are your fingers so dry and
I
wrinkled?
don't have fat on my hands.
Oh, no, that's not the reason.
And I have a skin condition. Now you're the one bringing me down.
Oh, yeah, well, tit for tat.
You know, they just released that Palpatine was a clone just to make the plot of The Last Jedi even more...
I never said there weren't some plot holes.
Ambiguous.
Or ambiguous.
Whatever. What did I say?
I don't know. I've never heard that word.
Speaking of randomness...
Ubiquitous?
Maloney Baloney says...
Don't call him that. I'm sure that's what he was called his whole life.
The first is Norse-related. You have covered so many great Norse facts.
True. We are heavy into Norse mythology.
You haven't talked about Tauf Games? Wikipedia it. And then he uses another Norse term.
We refuse to do research.
H-N-E-F-A-T-A-F-L. That's not a word. Is the one that I've come across.
I think he sneezed while he was typing that.
No, it's an app. It's a fun abstract game. I will have to look that up. He also asked us a question.
Uh-oh.
I wanted to ask you, why don't you like fantasy themes in games? You both seem to love all sorts of media-based in speculative and fiction, you also seem tired and aware of the horrible social implications of playing colonial-themed games. Remind me.
Ouch. Ouch.
Yeah, remind me of...
Should I strike that Empires has become my new number one?
Well, I wanted to talk about that.
Okay.
Not during this podcast, but maybe next podcast.
We'll keep saying that.
Keep saying that.
We're not going to get into that. We'll do it on the next podcast.
We've discovered that my number one game is socially unacceptable. Please strike all mention of it.
My bad. My bad, by the way, is not an apology.
It is, isn't it? It's acknowledging that you have made a bad.
But
you're not actually.
It's harder to say I am sorry.
Is it?
Say it. Jerry's physically choking. Now say my bad.
My bad. Sorry. You're right. I don't know if I have ever said it. Let me drink a little more.
I would almost think you have not.
Give me more of that liquid curd.
Especially never to me.
Milk of amnesia.
Milk of amnesia, that's a good one.
What?
More. Give me some more.
So why don't we like fantasy games? That's a good question, Maloney.
I think we have said that. Maybe you especially.
I've said it a lot.
Because a lot of them, fantasy games are generic as well.
Wow. Okay.
Just, generic wizard, generic mage, generic orc.
A jork.
A jork. Don't be a jork right now.
The Quake brand orc.
Wearing jorts.
Jorgensen, the generic orc. We have an email from
jorts with jorts.
We have an email from an Icelandic listener.
We should make that a calendar. Jorks and jorts.
Oh, no.
Can't wait to see July.
Ooh. You see the tusk on that one. Continue on. Why don't you like fantasy? Answer the man's question.
I'm sorry. I actually don't mind fantasy. I don't like... Well, yes, I don't like the generic, like there's 1,000 fantasy. But you can say about I don't know.
Okay. I like what I've said. I don't know.
I cannot back up my reasons why. We just simply haven't played that many.
Okay. Well, of course, I do love the medieval ages, and I like that time period in history.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
But with fantasy, I don't know. I firmly believe that there are science fiction fans and then there's fantasy fans. And, of course, there's people who like them both.
I do enjoy both. Like, I rewatched Willow on Disney+.
Oh.
Val Kilmer. Was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. Yes.
And I did not know he was like, Willow was like 17 or 18.
It did not creep you out when
he's a dad.
With that little monster come out of the moat. That was creepy.
Oh, yes, that was gross. There's a lot of good practical effects.
Yeah, Willow was like based on the Odyssey, I think, wasn't it? Because there was like the people turning into pigs and stuff like that.
Yes, it was, but it was good.
It was good. But yeah, fantasy for me.
And I've seen Lord of the Rings and I've read the books.
You read Lord of the Rings?
When I was a kid.
Oh, in school. They made you read the Lord of the Rings. So yeah, I've always tended to be more towards sci-fi than we had fantasy. And I think it's also because this is going to sound derogative. Let me drink a little bit before I say it. Let me give myself a thought.
It's my derogative.
Okay. The derogative part is that there are connotations towards the overweight, bearded person who really enjoys fantasy, like the Magic the Gathering type, isn't there? Like when someone says, I'm really into fantasy, you picture them painting...
They imagine me with a beard rolling D20s down in my mom's basement.
Painting minis of scantily clad women in that weird armor. Right. Yeah, that weird revealing armor.
Slightly out of touch with reality themselves.
Right, whereas... Sci-fi fans are known as being very...
More
cerebral, good-looking, muscular. The ladies just love a Star Trek fan.
Tell that at the next Star Trek con you go to.
You go to the Star Trek con.
I do.
And that's it.
So you're talking about stereotypes.
Yeah, stereotypes. Plus, we just tend to like...
So you're saying you don't want to be classified as a stereotype?
No, I like being classified as a stereotype.
What's your stereotype you'd be like to be classified?
I said, good-looking and cerebral.
Well...
But also, I don't really like that fantasy setting. Like, I enjoy the history of it.
This is what I remember you saying previously.
You remember something I said? Go with this, please.
You were like, disregard the whole the sci-fi part of it, but you were like, fantasy is not something you can relate to historically.
That is true. And so, like, science fiction is something that might happen in the future. Like, we might be able to transport stuff. We won't ever be able to travel at the speed of light, but we can get close to it.
We made first contact in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, a mere few miles away from us.
Correct. Even still, like, sci-fi gives you that idea of this might be true at some point in time, something to look forward to. Whereas fantasy tends to be just that. It's a rewriting of almost history. And I know that's a very weak argument, but it's true. It's something, as Gabi put, it's something that you don't really relate to. And if you try to relate to it, and you end up collecting swords and having sword fights, and next thing you know, it's just, you end up cutting yourself. I mean, it's just one of those things. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I mean, no mean Vern.
You know what I mean, Vern?
I mean, Game of Thrones was fantasy.
Yeah.
But there's not a whole lot of fantasy in it.
Yeah, it's just dragons.
It was another world.
So you could see how people could connect with that. And like Robin Hood and these other things, although there's not much historical fact to it, it is something that,
there were men in tights at the time.
There was. He goes on to say Terra Mystica and Mage Knight seem like games you might enjoy. Now, FYI, we didn't get Terra Mystica. We do have Gaia Project. We hope to play that soon. I just learned it. I have the rulebook on me.
We disregarded the fantasy version, went to the sci-fi version.
There you go. And Mage Knight, again, I didn't buy Mage Knight. I bought Star Trek Frontiers.
So weird. Okay, so I'm noticing a pattern.
And I didn't really like it. He said you should also give Root another try. We are, because we were shamed into it by Captain America. He said that we should give it another try, and it's been on our table. And
we didn't dislike it.
No, we were just ho-hum.
Yes.
Ho-hum, ho-hum.
Yes.
And he talked about how next time we should play Root, we should play it with Bubba. And then he mentions, finally, I wanted to say that while you two are irreplaceable as far as the central force of this podcast, thank you for admitting that, Maloney, that I love when you have your friends on. This comes to no surprise to me, considering the hangout feeling I previously mentioned. Bubba and Enrique in particular are enjoyable, although for different reasons.
Ooh, diss to Mike.
Yeah. Well, Mike's very bland. He's like a spy. Mike is just very bland. I know. I love Mike. Mike is very...
And he's only been on here twice.
Yeah, Mike's good. I mean, I love playing board games with Mike. But Mike, in terms of a personality, he's like mayonnaise. I hope they keep coming on.
You know Mike listens, right?
Who? He does? Well, Mike listens when he doesn't have time working out and being amazing at his job and a loving father. And
keep trying.
And although he's probably the second best, most good-looking bald man
he's your replacement.
Yeah, he is. If I ever die, I've given you the permission. You pick up with Mike and go on. I hope they keep coming on. Eventually, I hope that you allow Enrique to talk after asking him a question. I think allowing him to come on
is really best
to come into his own by giving his opinions unfettered by your frustrating, if hilarious outbursts would be good for him in the podcast.
Okay. Hey, you know what? I'm going to, next time he's on here, we're going to let him, and we'll see what you think then.
Let me tell you something about Enrique. For all of our fans, Enrique has listened to exactly 0 of these podcasts.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. He's never read your...
He's too busy looking at iFunny.
Yes, I have to read him the emails and say, do you know people ask about you, people talk about you? He doesn't have Instagram. He doesn't have Facebook. He's literally on the down low, especially now since he worried about that warrant. I should never have joked about that. But yeah, anyways, we love Enrique, and we're glad that y'all and love him too. And Bubba needs to come back on. Bubba's our man.
Bubba's a man of mystery. He's always out and about, and we never can find him.
So he asked us about, one thing that Maloney asked about was, he made this comment regarding colonial-themed games and the social implications. I'm going to talk about that on another podcast, not this one.
On another one, next one.
On maybe the next one.
Keep that up.
We'll keep that up. Because literally the only podcast for which we've ever deleted in the hit, like truly, Gabi says, no, we can't air this, was the time that we played Endeavor. And I said, I want to talk about these slavery cards. I want to talk about colonialism. And next thing I know, Gabi's calling me and says, you know what? I think that's a little too serious. Let's just cut that out for now.
Because we like to have fun here.
We like to have fun here. Yeah, and then, apparently I was...
But it's real, like, I just saw it on Twitter today. There was a major thread about...
major thread?
The major threads. Hello, I'm Major Thread. Yes, Admiral.
Go ahead.
He was talking about the Alexander...
Sorry, I'm still laughing about that. Go ahead. That just got me wrong. I I pictured this guy. This guy with his major oak leaves, and then his uniform. He just has pieces of thread that's like coming off. His uniform's very
they
disheveled.
do have them robes going across their shoulders.
Major thread.
And this is why we don't discuss such themes as colonialism.
But I think we owe it to our fans that maybe one day.
Well,
we can do a respectful podcast.
Okay, well, we will do that.
Another email from an Icelandic snob, Christopher Gorgonson.
When did he email?
Well, this was like several weeks ago. We never responded. We forgot about him.
I miss you, Chris.
He says he never misses an episode. He says that you already have almost half of Iceland listening, more than 2 people. And he gives us more Iceland facts. Now, I am pronouncing all this correctly, but the capital of Iceland, Reykjavik, has a penis museum.
I think it's Reykjavik.
That's what I said. Reykjavik has a penis museum where you can see 200 different types of animal penises. I'm sorry, I keep mispronouncing that. The Icelandic phone book lists people by their first names. The Icelandic police have only ever shot a person. They've only ever shot one person. I find that to be stranger than the penis museum.
With ice guns?
Yes. No.
Freeze! Everybody freeze!
So yeah, I looked that up. They've only ever had one.
Time to kick some ice.
Like in the little town of 5,000 people where I'm from, they've shot like 3 people last year. So it's
you are close to Texas.
It is the South. That's super weird. Well, we'll know when we come to Iceland, if we ever do make it to Iceland. Because that's, I wonder how they're doing over there. They don't get the...
with the viruses and stuff?
Yeah, I wonder how they're holding out.
Are the viruses better in the hot or the cold?
Most viruses, it depends on the strain. And I believe that the idea of the COVID-19 is that it's not going to do well in the heat. It does well in the cold.
And so maybe summertime will kind of kill it off?
Yeah, it's slow. It's slow. It's progress. Which reminds me, since I am in the medical field,
remind me.
You people just be washing your hands and don't touch your face.
Oh, speaking of which, me and my wife are going to go on a flight. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go. I don't want to get on a germ tube and fly to an airport where people from all over the world are going to be.
Just wear a mask.
It?
Buy you one of those Bane.
Somebody stop me.
Buy you one of those Bane masks.
Oh.
Those ones that fit over and just freak everybody out. Has those respirators on.
You were merely born in the light. No, wait, you adopted the light. I was born in it.
This is for my asthma. It produces albuterol whenever I am short of breath. Keep your corona to yourself. That type thing.
I prefer somebody stop me.
No, wear a mask and wash your face, and don't wash your face. Wash your hands and your face. And
wash your hands first, then your face.
Just dip your face in water.
What if I just go on the plane wearing like a ski mask and black leather gloves?
That won't help. You'll get kicked off. You can't go on.
Well, good. Then I won't get sick.
You can't get on the plane. You can't board a plane looking like a ninja.
Oh.
But no, seriously.
In Spanish, where I'm from, that's ninja.
What, a ninja?
Yes.
Ninja?
Ninja.
Did the Spanish have niñas?
Niñas, El Niño.
Those are babies.
El Niño is the reason for all of this.
But did the Spanish have ninjas? Why did they have a word for it?
Conquistadors.
Conquistadors were ninjas?
They were the ninjas of Spain.
I didn't know that. Are you just making this up?
Yes.
You're not making this up.
I'm making all of it up.
Shut up. Is this true? You got me super excited about this all of a sudden. Spanish ninjas.
Conquistadors, the ninjas of Spain.
I've never heard of this.
That's because it's not real.
Cut this, because we're going to write a book about this. The Spanish ninjas.
Have I got a script for you? A screenplay.
Oh, it's Zorro.
Coming to you.
It's basically Zorro.
Hey, there you go.
Did you watch the Antonio Banderas?
Did I? How could I not? Catherine Zeta-Jones.
I loved her.
Anthony Hopkins. In Dark Face.
I like Anthony Hopkins somehow played a Hispanic.
Yes.
Do you know what level of acting it takes for them to hire you to do a show and you'd be like, I'm not Spanish. Like, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. We will put makeup on you. That's the 90s.
Tan, Anthony. Tan. You got this, Tony. Tan. You got it. Oh, yes. That was a great show. And
the greatest offender of that would be C. Thomas Howell.
Oh, no. We're good. Oh, man.
Oh, the 80s and the 90s.
That was a weird time.
When nothing was off, what do they call that?
PC?
No, off limits.
Yes, but now everything's on
You
limits.
cannot do that now,
No.
Anthony.
No.
Sir Anthony.
Sir Anthony? Okay.
Zorro was good, though.
I love Zorro. I used to
that
watch...
was like his second or Antonio Banderas' like second or third biggest. What was the name of his original movie where he had a gun in his guitar case?
Oh, that was...
that was Tarantino, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't
Rodriguez.
Tarantino. That was
Rodriguez.
Give me a second. It'll come to me here in a second. It was the... not the Bandito. I'm thinking of that weird song that got... There was a weird song that somebody put on the internet one time about the Frito Bandito.
That's shoots out Fritos at everybody.
Well, no, but it was called the...
I am the Frito Bandito.
what's that called? I just started clapping.
I don't know what
That's
you're doing right now.
That's that clapping song during Zorro when they're dancing. They're dancing with this Catherine
been a long time
Zeta-Jones.
since I've seen it.
You have to watch that. We're going to watch that
That is
again.
Salma Hayek as well.
I love Salma Hayek.
You just it's Salma Hayek in the Antonio Banderas movie. What? Okay, I gotta look it up. Continue talking.
Okay, I will. What do you want me to talk about? You've got me.
Well, let me look up this movie with Antonio Banderas.
He had the two guns, and it was on television for a long time. They always had the edited version, and Cheech Marin was in it, and there's a lot of people that was in it.
Oh, that was such a good movie.
It was just-
like, I love that movie forever. Like, because
It was just overdone.
I think it was Robert Rodriguez, and it was Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, and he goes in.
It was
they
the
like had killed his family. He had him and El Mariachi was like the original.
Yes, and it was called something else, and it was basically the Hispanic John Wick. He was...
Yes.
Yes, that's what it was. He was the Hispanic John Wick.
Desperado.
That's what it was.
Oh my goodness, 1995. That was such an awesome
That was the
movie.
best year ever, was 95.
Slow-mo as he's walking away from explosions.
And he had that buddy that showed up to help him, and he had a rocket launcher in his guitar case.
Yes. I think he died.
He does die.
Everyone dies in that
Can't
movie.
carry a rocket
except
launcher in a guitar case. You just don't.
He hit the D- chord.
What was I saying?
I'm gonna have to rewatch that movie.
Gosh, oh man.
Let's see who made that. I have to look it up. Robert Rodriguez. He was a screenplay and director. Film series Mexico trilogy. So it was El Mariachi, Desperado, and then Once Upon a Time in Mexico,
That's
starring
right.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, Johnny Depp back when he used to be like an actual
I don't
actor.
think I've ever seen that.
I don't remember any of that.
I just remember he had Antonio Banderas had those like 12 gauge super sawed off, double barrel pistols. They were so freaking awesome when I was 15 years old.
That's
No,
all
wait,
that
1995. Yeah,
That's all that show was.
I was 18 years old. I graduated in 95.
Growing your hair out, walking around.
Oh, I was flinging around like Hugh Grant.
You were proud of your
I
Brazilian.
was the Chilean Hugh Grant of my time. Had it parted right down the middle as Hugh Grant once did.
You were mildly confused by everything. Was that what?
I was a huge Grant.
That was a delightful self-burn. Oh, I just remembered something. This is a board game podcast. We need to. Oh, you're going to open a beer now. So that signals as Gabi opens his beer.
Keep it going.
Let's go on to our topic.
Before I forget where I'm at.
Yes. Okay. We just come back from Cabin Con. Now, Cabin Con was our own con that we made up and went to, and we brought a bunch of games that we were going to play that we hadn't played in a long time. We were going to record at Cabin Con, but we didn't because the acoustics were terrible and we had technical issues.
There was like a loud popping in the mic. I don't know why.
We don't know what that was about. So we played TI4 and Eclipse back to back. And often these two games are compared to one another. Now, TI4 has been praised as being basically one of the biggest, grandest games in board gaming, whereas Eclipse is kind of like the old, respected, kind of like the independent. It's like the more Euro of space.
Yeah,
it's the Euro.
And when it comes to TI4, it's oftenly considered the little brother of TI4, which is incorrect.
Correct. No, that's incorrect.
My statement's correct.
Your statement is correct. Your statement
My
is
statement about the incorrection was correct.
Is correct. Your incorrection is correction, and I'm backing up your corrections.
Appreciate that.
So yeah, TI4 is very flashy. It's like the Las Vegas of space games. It's large and flashy, whereas Eclipse is very dull and drab and very thought out and very comforting. It's the Yorkshire of board game space games.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap. Fire shots fired at Yorkshire. Where is Yorkshire?
I'm not sure.
I am trying to keep it together here. I got notes. Notes, man.
Oh, well, we're official.
We're official. I have a pad.
I've got notes.
I'm trying to up our game. We were on sporadically bored. We're trying to be a little bit more professional.
People are listening.
People are listening.
Maybe new to our podcast.
That think we're respectable. Plus we want to get on that dice.
Newsflash, we're not.
Anyways, TI4. TI4 is a game which, like I said, a grand space opera where you're taking your civilization and trying to dominate the known universe. And you use these little triangles of power. Yes. These little triangle things, which you put on your little player board, which you use for either strategy, ship size, or fleet size. Fleet size?
Fleet size.
That's next to Yorkshire.
Fleet size and Yorkshire.
And also to move your ships. So either you move your ships, ship size, strategy. I can't say that. This is not working. These notes are useless.
She's seashells by the seashore.
So, on your turn, you move your ships, you take over planets, or you activate the special power that you claimed from kind of like this Puerto Rico style where you claim a role and then you get to utilize that role. And then everybody else at this, thank you for that, bringing up colonization. You're just trying to upset me. Where everybody else has selected a role, and then they get to utilize that power as well if they have a strategy triangular token, like Cheez-Its. That's why Enrique really likes Cheez-Its.
He was into it. He kept eating his tokens.
Well, they keep mistaking them.
No, Enrique, those aren't Cheez-Its.
It's a grand space opera. We played it at Cabin Con with 3 people. We do not recommend playing TI4 with 3 people. It is literally in the title. You should play TI4 with at least 4 people.
TI4 player.
We thought 3, but no, 3 is not good, and we realized why.
What's the player count on it say?
6.
Well, what's the minimum?
3 to 6.
It says 3 to 6.
I think you can play it with 2, but then
the box is right down there.
I can't see it. No, it's too big. I can't touch it. I can't look. It's on the underneath. This box weighs 54 pounds.
Oh,
I can't read that. But anyways, so in TI4, I think you can play it with 2 players. But who's playing TI4 with 2 players? Those are 2 very lonely people. They probably really like fantasy. Wow, that was rude. So in TI4,
well, if you're on your own,
it's like I said, it's more about the interaction between the players. And so more is better in TI4. And unfortunately, with more players, it goes on much longer. And so even with a 3-player game, we felt like the game was missing something. About halfway through, we looked at each other and realized we weren't getting the same experience that we had when we played it at 5 or 6. And it was mainly because the game is epic.
I looked up Twilight 4, and it brings me Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 1.
I never heard of that. Oh, that's Robert Patterson.
Team Edward, Team Jacob, Bella.
He's Batman now. He's Team Batman.
Yes.
He's going to be Batman.
What do you think about that?
I think he's going to make a great Batman.
Why was that one picture all in red?
Because he was in a red room.
Was he in the red light district?
No, he was.
Batman gets lonely sometimes.
He was developed.
Swear to me. Swear to me. You won't release this to the news.
No, he was developing film.
I've got 30 bat credits.
Bat credits. Do you think he pays with bat credits? I'll write you an IOU. If you're ever in trouble, give this credit to Gordon. He'll turn on the bat signal. Wait 30 minutes.
Dismissed.
An hour on Fridays. And I'll come to your aid. That's not how that works. Bad credits. That's not how that works. Okay. Why did you bring up Robert Patterson? You know how I feel about him. You know,
it's Twilight.
I know, but I don't care about Twilight. Oh.
You connect.
What are you laughing about? It's not that funny.
Oh, that's good stuff.
So, in Twilight Imperium,
yes, there you go.
Breaking Dawn.
Part 1.
You're either Team Rodok Nor or another one of the other various. There's like 13 or 14 different alien species. It's really neat. but it's very convoluted. Not convoluted. There's a lot of rules, and it's very fiddly, and it takes forever to play, and so you really have to play it with a lot of people. Now, to contrast that with Eclipse...
Well, hold on.
What would you...
Why didn't you like it with just the three of us?
Well, because it wasn't as epic. I'm not saying that you two weren't epic, you and Enrique, but it really felt like when we played it with 5 or 6 people that I was engaged in an activity that I knew was going to take 12 hours. I knew it was going to be all day. And when I won that game, because I won them, it felt like I had accomplished something. It felt like it was truly telling a story. With three players, it was basically a back and forth, space battle, space battle, space battle. It just wasn't as engaging.
No, it was not.
It was watered down.
3 players the minimum, by the way. It says 3 to 6. Okay. And on BGG, it says best at 6.
Absolutely.
We played it at 5 player. We played it, we played it at 5 player the first time.
And it was
awesome.
It was great.
Epic. It was everything we thought it would be. I put it in my top 10 for that year, blah, blah, blah. We played it this time at 3 player. I could not have been more disengaged.
Right.
I wasn't worried about you. I wasn't worried about Enrique. And you were even coming at me. But it's like with 5 players, like the energy was low.
Yeah.
Like
low
it
T.
just wasn't.
Low Twilight.
There was a low Twilight
you
there.
You would say that it was eclipsed.
It was eclipsed by Zaya. But I just didn't feel the energy. I was like, I was building ships. I was trying to move, making my fleet size big. I just didn't care.
Your ship size was rather large in this game.
I had it rather large.
Because you were running at me, and I was building my defenses. I was building
ships and moving, but I think with a 3-player count, because you're not talking, there's not many. I either ally with you or ally with Enrique, and none of us were doing that. Mm-mm. We didn't even, the laws and all that stuff. It's like, that's way better at 5 or 6 players.
And so
do not play this 3-player.
And to contrast this with Eclipse, which just had a second printing, which is gorgeous. And if you are a millionaire and you just buy Kickstarters at random and you happen to have another copy of the second Dawn edition of Eclipse and you just want to mail it to me, then you can. BoardGameSnobs@gmail.com. I have the old edition of Eclipse. Eclipse, to give some...
What's the name of your Eclipse?
It's just Eclipse.
No, it's like a Dawn.
Dawn of the New Galaxy. It's like
Dawn or the Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Whatever, yeah. So the old Eclipse, the 2011 version, I have it. I have the expansions for it. It's one of the few games for which I have bought inserts and I have pimped out. I enjoy Eclipse. Despite its very muted colors, despite its fiddliness, Eclipse used to be in my top 10, and whenever I get to play it, it remains in my top 10, which is a topic of a conversation for another day. How often do you have to play a game for it to remain in your top 10? In Eclipse, it's very Euro. You have your player board. You can all use the A side of your player board, which makes all the players the same, or the B side, which everybody starts off with different levels of one of the 3 resources. And you utilize action selection with these little influence disc where you select what action you're going to do, and the more actions you take, the more money it costs you, and money's one of your resources. So you have to manage the back side, the financial side of your planetary government, and you get to explore. In TI4, the universe is built out before you. In Eclipse, you're laying out these hexagonal little tiles, and you're finding these planets which give you certain types of resources. And do you take control of this section of the universe and take advantage of its resources? That's up to you. You build ships. You also upgrade your ships. You buy more technologies. And then you're putting these little chits on your player board to adjust the 3 different types of ships that you have. Depending on what types that you have want to have them with better engines, meaning that they'll move farther and faster. Better guns, better shields, better aiming, and combat's very simple. Unlike in TI4, the combat's very similar where you're rolling dice, but I found the combat in TI4 to be kind of more complicated, whereas in Eclipse, you just roll the dice, you hit on a 6. And who has initiative is very, very simple. Eclipse is not as fancy, it's not as flashy, but it won't let you down because it feels like you're actually trying to manage a galactic empire. And each game is different because sometimes you don't actually have combat with the other players. Sometimes you're just fighting the dissidents out into the universe. You're not actually fighting the other players.
On which one?
On Eclipse.
Yes.
Yeah, and so sometimes the games of Eclipse can fall flat because the players will be so distant from each other, they won't build out the universe. But in other games, it's up in your face and you're fighting.
We went from a 3-player Twilight team, Gabi, to Eclipse. And I was all about Eclipse.
Eclipse was a wonderful game.
One thing I did not like about Twilight, it comes with these player sheets, boards.
Sheets.
So thin.
They're so thin, and they, like I said, the second edition fixes all this. It has upgraded components and things. But yeah,
I'm talking about Twilight.
Oh, Twilight. I'm sorry. I'm
talking about the TI4 thing.
Yeah.
So I was looking for, as Jerry's like re-explaining the rules, I'm like, I'm so confused because there's so many pieces, so many rules. Just give me a what do they call that? It's just a player guide, reference sheet, yeah. Whatever. And the one on the Twilight, the 4th edition, makes no sense. You don't, even if you somewhat know what's going on, like phase 1, we do this, phase 2, we do that, and your options are this, this, and this. I did not get any of that from the TI4.
Right. If you're like me and you teach most of the games in your game group, what you find out is that you tend to be harsh towards games that are difficult to teach.
TI4 is literally all in the tableau in the player guide.
Yeah, Gabi and Enrique have both played TI4 and Eclipse. So I was reteaching both of these games. TI4 was a slog to get them going again. In Eclipse, I rarely even opened the book. It's all on your player board. There's a reference sheet.
I kept choosing vampires in TI4, Twilight.
Never mind. But in Eclipse, it was very straightforward and very easy to teach. It was something that I wasn't worried that y'all were making a mistake or didn't understand the rules.
Because it's literally right there in front of you.
What actions are you going to take?
These are your actions. These are what they do. These are the phases. Done.
And if you pass, you can only do these actions.
You flip it over. And it tells you exactly what you can do. So, excellent. So I love that.
Here's our thoughts on
Eclipsia.
Eclipsia. Is that when you get tired?
It's not eclampsia.
No. Eclampsia is hypertension during pregnancy.
That's what Lady Sybil died of.
Who?
Lady Sybil.
Does she live in Yorkshire?
Downton Abbey.
Oh.
Spoiler alert.
I forgot that you watched that.
Are you kidding me?
My wife watched all that. I couldn't handle it.
Oh, that was wonderful.
Rich White People Problems is the name of that place. I can't handle that stuff.
Edwardian white people problems.
Whatever. It's just weird.
It was excellent. And the movie was excellent as well.
You went to the movie. I remembered you going.
Yes, I made it. Oh, yeah, that was awesome.
Was it?
I love that movie.
Did the Queen of Essex, did she get gonorrhea? I don't know what happens in this show.
Yes, that's what happened.
I don't know.
Great movie. Loved it. If you're a fan of Downton Abbey, watch the movie that just came out.
Okay, like last year. Twilight Imperium 4th edition.
Team Edward.
If your gaming group is the type that you have 4 or 5 players and you're ready to commit to something this large, then by all means, TI4 is a great game.
I was really burned on the 3-player.
Right.
I'm going to say that. Like, we were playing it, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to be done with this.
Yeah, I'll never play it again without the full player count.
So then I was like, I don't want to play this again. But I was like, but I remember it being so fun at 5 players. Right. So we have dedicated ourselves. We're going to play this again at 5 player to give a final judgment.
Correct. Eclipse. Whether Eclipse is...
Thank goodness Enrique bought the game.
Yes.
He paid the price.
He paid the price. Eclipse is good at 2 players. It's good at 3 players, 4 players. It's
fantastic.
Great.
Wonderful.
If you are a Euro gamer and you're looking for something different,
or a gyro gamer, if you enjoy playing games while eating a
gyros, then by all means,
eat this one.
Eclipse is where it's at. Eat your gyros at night.
Eat your.
This is the best time. It's the right time to eat your gyros. I don't think I've ever ate a gyro.
Actually, I was watching this thing on YouTube, and it's the guy that does the, what's a script spelling bee?
A script spelling bee?
The scripts spelling, like the spelling bee.
Oh, like where the, yeah.
Like spell eclampsia.
Yeah, okay.
So this is the guy that is their pronunciation guy.
Not pronunciation.
Pronunciation. And so it's like he knows how to say everything. And what I often have called gyros or gyros, he says, mix those two together. It's gyro.
Gyro?
That's what he said. It's official.
He says it's gyros.
He said it was gyro.
Nobody eats gyros.
He did.
That's where you go. That's when you're at a baseball game. Where are we sitting? The gyro. That's not.
Where's that at?
The gyro.
It's between H.
I'm eating my gyro on the
and
gyro.
F.
That's not right. He's wrong. Well, it's like the British people. Not to knock y'all, because we have a lot of British people. But y'all pronounce that y'all.
Y'all
pronounce
sound like
things slightly
such a
differently.
elitist.
And since the coronavirus has been going on, I've been watching that doctor on YouTube, the guy who's keeping everybody updated on the coronavirus. He has little sheets of paper. Can't think of his
Dr.
name.
Phil?
No, not Dr. Phil. I can't remember his name, but he has a little sheet of paper and he slides it up there and he says, okay, this is what's going on. He has his little things that he's typed out and printed off, and he pronounces things differently. And that's what I like about English people. You take English words, which y'all have the right to pronounce them differently because you invented the language. Us over here, we've just kind of messed it up. So you can spell it with a U. You can
do
say
whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want.
Is
Irrevocable.
Is English a derivative of Latin
Yes.
and German?
Yeah.
And what's one of the more original languages?
Well, what do you mean?
As you go back in history,
Greek.
what was before Latin?
What was before Latin?
Grog, no.
Oh, no.
What's before Latin?
What's before Latin?
Because like on all the movies, this is written in Latin. That's so
Hebrew.
old. Hebrew.
That
Moses.
got all the males that made coffee.
Moses. He Hebrews it.
Kane is laughing
That's
his butt
deep.
off right now. I save all my biblical humor for Kane.
I'm a biblical man.
Yes.
I like the First Chronicles of Riddick.
Oh boy. So that's our pronunciation
1-1.
of TI4. It's a great
Liveth
game.
your lifeth one furlong at a time.
And if you have the player count, then TI4. But
If you're a Fast and Furious fan, you're on your knees laughing right now.
nobody's on your knees.
One
laughing.
furlong at a time? Come on.
Oh, one furlong. I just got that. I'm sorry. That is good. Come on. I'm sorry. That was good. Oh, one furlong at a time. It doesn't matter if you win by a meter. Winning is winning. Oh.
It doesn't matter if you win by one copper snake or...
They don't measure in copper snakes. That's... Oh, I don't know. They might. They might.
You don't know.
I don't know. One cubit.
One cubit.
But Eclipse has always been a top 10 game for us.
It don't matter if you win by a cubit or a copper snake. Winning's winning. That's good stuff.
That's good stuff.
I'm sorry.
Eclipse is a great game, and we highly
Eclipsia.
recommend it. Eclipsia is a game that you should buy. Great game, especially if you're a Eurogamer looking for a space game. That's great. It's great. Get around it. There's a second edition. It will be coming out soon.
We're going to play that as soon as we get done recording. Because I love Eclipse.
Done.
All
right. So this is it. This is the end.
I agree. This is it. Let's wrap this up.
Not the end of the podcast. The end of this
is
episode.
the final episode.
Bye, y'all.
All right. Until next time.
This is Jerry.
This is Gavi. R.I.P. Lady Sybil.